Pattaya City Expat Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
I can't say enough good things about the British consul. She came and gave a talk 2 years ago, which everybody loved. Even all the non-British people, we all loved the talk. And it was arranged by Judith, and she was introduced by Les. Both of those have since passed away. So, but she spontaneously approached to come and give a talk at the club. And she's just a delightful person. Has anybody seen the TV show, Thailand, The Dark Side of Paradise? It's worth checking out to see a one-sided view of Thailand, and Joanne here is a star of that show. She appears in the role of the British consul. Without too much more ado, I'm going to introduce the British consul, Joanne Finnamore-Crorkin. I had to put an English accent on, and thank you so much for coming and gracing us with your presence again.
Thank you. Hello everyone. Right, so just to introduce myself so that we're all clear, I am Joanne Finnamore-Crorkin and I am the consul at the British Embassy. The embassy is based in Bangkok. I have been in country for 3 years doing this role, and I have another 2 years to go, all being well. So you never know, you might get to see me again. You might get to see me in an official capacity if it is that we end up dealing with you if you do have an issue. I have a team of 23 staff who are with me in Bangkok, and I can tell you we are fully occupied from 8 o'clock till 4:30 Monday to Thursday, and 8 o'clock till 1 o'clock on a Friday. I often describe the room, the office that we sit in, as a morgue, because they sit there in silence, getting on with their work. They're often under pressure because they have to get information or they have to get questions to the UK, to families in the UK, to authorities in the UK. So it's not at times a jolly office where we're, you know, as people would imagine, we're sitting, we try and have a joke, but normally it is heads down. I have two of my colleagues with me here today, Elle and Pukau. They are both what we call pro-consuls, and they will be dealing with our cases or with families in the UK. You might meet them at the counter. If you've come to do a marriage affirmation, you would see them. We also have George with us, George Barry, who is our honorary consul. We had, as many of you might be aware, it took a while for us to get authority from the Thai Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So there was, you know, Bert sort of kept carrying on. People were still contacting Bert. It was a stressful time for George, but we got there in the end. So George is our sort of rep on the ground in Pattaya if we need to then ask him to do something for us. We're not using him that much, and he makes sure we know that, but we're not using many of our honorary consuls at the moment. And again, I put that down to the team in Bangkok being so experienced and being able to deal with the various cases. Right, I'm going to be a bit negative, but I just want to manage expectations. Okay, so last time I came, Les, when he introduced me, said that I would not be able to answer any questions on state pensions, and that is still the case. So if any of you did come here today hoping to get any answers from me, I can tell you now I'm unable to answer them. We will also touch on what the feeling is in the UK at the moment generally, and I think, you know, put that together with what your thoughts are on getting increases. Also, my section, the consular section of the British Embassy, we do not do visas either. Again, with other embassies, and I know that we have some from other nationalities here today, it may be that your consular sections do visas. We do not do visas. And the other thing we do not do is the issuing of British passports. So again, that has been outsourced. What we can do is if you lose your passport and you need to travel urgently, we can advise you how to apply for an emergency travel document. And that is normally quite straightforward as long as you have all the information that is required. So, what can we do? As some of you will be aware, as I've already touched on, we do issue marriage affirmations. So anybody wishing to get married, any British national wishing to get married in Thailand at this stage, at present time, needs to come into the embassy and swear, do an affirmation, do an oath to us to say that they are single and free to marry. This is, we then produce a document which is required by the Thai authorities. We also can certify a copy of a British passport. Now, by doing that, we are just saying that this is a true copy. We are not saying that, yes, this is definitely Joe Bloggs and he owns this passport. We are just saying that it is a true copy. Many of you obviously will be aware at times the Thai bureaucracy, what the Thais want, if you're trying to buy a property, open up a bank account, all these documents. We cannot, and we do not now, do any sort of paperwork which backs up, you know, what you are wanted to do. And part of that is because we don't know. You know, if you're asking us to say that your income is so much each month, how do we know it is? Yes, you may show us a bank account, but it will show, you know, what's gone in, maybe just the previous month, things like that. And the reason also, and this is worldwide, this is not just Thailand, one of the reasons we stopped doing these services was because we have to provide assistance to British nationals in need. So a little bit later I'll touch on some of our cases at the moment. But this was, you know, instruction on high from, I think it was around 2016, to say that you, worldwide, you reduce doing these services because you need to be available to deal with the most vulnerable. And obviously, numbers of tourists, of expats worldwide go up, continue to go up, and will do in the future. Just a little bit on the UK. I'm sure many of you do read the British newspapers. You will see that, yes, there are issues. We've got a budget coming up. We, in the Foreign Office, are facing significant change. We don't know what that means to us, but you would have read in some of the newspapers possible reductions of 15 to 25% of our work, of our staff. Now, we don't know what that means. We don't know what that means for the British Embassy Bangkok. We don't know what it means for our consular section. But, you know, that is how it is. And as I say, we have a budget coming up in November. So we will wait to see what happens from that. Does all sound doom and gloom, doesn't it? But I tell you what, the team and the work that they do and the satisfaction that they do get when they can help people is marvellous. It really is. Yes, featured in the Thailand Dark Side of Paradise, made it very clear in that. I mean, they sat with us for, I think, 3 hours, and I think we had 60 seconds in the documentary. Luckily, it was the bit where I was able to get over that we cannot get you out of prison. So, oh, I'm British, you're the British Embassy. No, we cannot get anybody out of prison. Just to let you know, give you an idea of our numbers, when I arrived in 3 years ago, October 2022, we had 22 people detained in prison. We are now up to 66 people. So we've gone from 22 to 66 in just 3 years. That takes up a lot of our time. We are obligated to visit, whether that's a call or in person. We have to set up calls between families in the UK and the prisoner, which again, when we're dealing with 12, 14 different prisons all around Thailand, each prison has its own system. So that makes it difficult. We transfer funds from prisoners abroad so that people can then buy some food if they're in a prison that isn't great, and some are even entitled to vitamins. So you can imagine going from 22 to 66 in 3 years with no additional staffing. That in itself is a significant increase. We will work with the lawyers. If somebody has appointed a lawyer, we will work we will discuss with them. We will make sure that obviously the sort of rules, the general worldwide sort of guidance, international ruling on prisoners is being followed, but it obviously at times can be quite difficult. If you're in hospital, we cannot pay your hospital bills. And I must admit, when we do outreach like this, when we go to Pattaya, Phuket, Chiang Mai, we go and visit the major hospitals, mainly the state, the public hospitals. And it does upset me when, the director of the hospital will push a bill towards me and say, yeah, Joe Bloggs, he owes us all that amount of money. And it is quite upsetting because we cannot pay. What we can do is if there are family and friends, especially in the UK, we can reach out to them, we can work with them to come up with, say, a payment plan. If there is insurance, obviously we can talk to the insurance companies, but I think I'm finding it more and more difficult. I'm finding the money that British nationals stroke foreigners owe to some of these hospitals quite staggering. And again, it's only going to get worse. If anybody has been raped or sexually assaulted, we are there to deal with them straight away. They are vulnerable. Have they been to the police? Have they been to the hospital? Have they got medication, the morning after pill, sexually transmitted disease pill? Have they got these things? So those would be top of our list when we're dealing with people. At the moment, we have had few cases this year. I think last year we had about 12 cases. But you think, your daughter, your wife, your sister, your brother, your son are alone in a country and something happens to them like that. I'm sure you'd rather that we were looking after them than writing a letter to say, oh, Joe Bloggs' income is this. So I'm saying it, I'm being harsh, but that's the reality of what we now switch to what our priorities are. We're seeing a slight increase in what we call child welfare cases. So this can be where it's normally a British father and a Thai mother, and maybe they have a dispute. Maybe the British father has left the child here, and it's them working with them. We are not experts in that area, but we can signpost them to people. And I'll come on to a specific case in a minute where we're dealing with a child. Welfare cases, the elderly. This is one of our increases. And again, it is only there's only going to be more people, hopefully not any of you, but your friends, your colleagues, your neighbours, who suddenly find that they can't remember their PIN to get their money out. They haven't got a will, so when they pass away, their Thai wife, girlfriend, is unable to access their funds. I would say to any British, mainly male, please do not be selfish. Have plans in place for those that you will be leaving behind, because it's not fair on them. It really isn't. And obviously us then dealing with a Thai wife, spouse, there's again only so much assistance that we can then give to them, and only so much guidance. Yes, make sure that if you do get a proof of life letter, that you reply, you send it back straight away. Otherwise, your pension will stop. What else are we doing on the elderly? We're going to a care home today, and again, sorry, no photos. We're going to a care home today, so again, and I'll come on to part of the reasoning bit behind that. In these that you've got on the table, it will give you our number to call, and you'll all say, what's the point? Because we never get through to you. You never answer. We can't talk to a person. You don't. You do get through, and again, you're the same as anybody calling from Thailand, Turkey, Taipei, wherever in the world. You will go through to our 24-hour call centre. They have a lot of information on all of our different countries, and this is partly to give you more a consistent service. What we would have found in the past was you might have called the embassy here, got straight through to somebody in the embassy, and they just say, no, we don't do that. And you could have then, somebody in Mexico could have called with exactly the same question, and then they get the assistance. It's also to relieve our staff so that they are not working 24/7. That's for our country-based staff, such as Pukau, such as Elle. Myself, any diplomats, we are 24/7. So again, if you did have an emergency, if you did get through, when you get through to this number, if it's during our daytime, they will answer the question, or they will put you through to one of the team if they then think that it is relevant. If it's at the weekend and you need help, and again I go back to that rape scenario, then I will be called, and then we will work out, if somebody here in Pattaya, I might sort of say, right, George, are you able to get to see the person before I get down there? And that's how we work. So, always have that number handy, and it is, as I say, 24/7. If you ever get to venture up to the embassy in our office building, you will see on the ground floor that there is a telephone booth. So you go into there, you pick up the phone, and that takes you straight through to our consular, to the 24/7 number. And then they would decide, they would say, right, just wait, and they would then call one of the team and say, we've got somebody downstairs, you do need to see him. Normally it can happen, we joke, 10 to 1 on a Friday, and it's somebody who's lost their money, lost their passport, where am I going to stay over the weekend? So we will then deal with them. We cannot give you funding. What we do have is a very generous British businessman here who will give us funds that we then can use to give somebody money for a hotel, for some food, until we have sorted out what more we can do with them. Normally it would be then asking our colleagues in the UK to call family and friends and say, Johnny's lost everything, are you able to transfer funds to him? But we do have that little bit of a budget fund that we can then give somebody so that they do have a meal. We are very lucky. My colleagues in Cambodia, if people turn up there, they do not have the funds. They have nothing that they can give a British national except to say, there's a temple down the road, there's a mosque down the road, see if they will help you. If you really are stuck here, again, we can, but you've got to meet a lot of criteria. We can give you a loan if people need to get back to the UK, but it's under very strict criteria. When I was talking about prisons before, the one area I did forget to mention is the Immigration Detention Centre in Bangkok. We have a team that go there every Wednesday afternoon. And again, the purpose of that, they're going to be deported. There's nothing we can do to say, well, can X not stay in Thailand? They've got family here, they've got children here. No, once you're in there, that is it. The Thai authorities do not pay the deportation, so again, you have to pay for yourself, or again, you get family or friends, or worst case scenario, we can look at a loan. But as I say, it's very, very strict criteria. And our policy is to try and get people out of there as soon as possible. Though some of you may be aware the conditions are not great, but also there's many, many other nationalities in there. And I do wonder, with the releasing of a lot of the foreigners from these scam centres in Myanmar, whether then we're going to see a significant increase of those people going into the detention centres before they are able to return to their homes. I'll give you an example of a couple of cases, because I think then that helps people to think in a little bit more detail. At the moment, we're working on getting a baby back to the UK. Parents came out here, left the baby, went back to the UK. So we are working with British authorities to get her back to the UK. We had a gentleman who'd been here many, many, many years, an expat, had a successful job, had a family, fell on hard times, had a significant, he'd overstayed for quite a while, so he had a significant fine, visa fine. Again, we do not pay. We cannot give you a loan for any visa fees. So it was working with him how he would get those fees so that to pay the visa to then get back to the UK. Part of the reason we're going to the care home today is we have an elderly gentleman there. He has the money, he has funds, he just cannot get them from his bank account in the UK. We also have somebody else in there who is paying, I think, a slightly reduced rate. So we're very, very grateful to the any care home, whether it's in Pattaya, anywhere in Thailand. We had somebody who came in the other day. They were wheelchair bound. It was very difficult to know what to do with them. They had nowhere to go. Again, a quick call to one of the care homes, and they said, we will take the person as long as you can sort out finances, which we were able to do. So within a few hours, that person was on their way to a care home. We have, when people are in prison, sometimes they need medication. Again, we cannot give them that medication, but we can call the prisons to ask for their full assistance. Some of you will recall there was a British national who was involved in a fire on a boat off one of the islands. That reached the press. Again, we worked with the family on that case. And I'm sure, just from being in Pattaya, you will be aware of many other cases that you've either sort of seen on social media or have come across yourselves. Now I'm going to touch on cannabis. So since was it June 2022 and the sort of legalization of cannabis, we have seen, I can't use the word significant, but we have seen an increase in our British nationals being arrested. That doesn't really contribute to the 66 that we have at the moment. We only have a handful that are related to cannabis. And basically, they are getting stopped when they go to leave Thailand. So it's the customs, that's where they're being stopped, because they can carry 40 kilos of cannabis with them all around Thailand. It's when they come to leave. So we're trying to work with the Thai authorities to get some consistency in what will happen to them. Because if they're stopped at Phuket airport compared to the main airport in Bangkok, compared to Chiang Mai, they're all being dealt with differently. So it's very, very difficult for us if somebody was to call and say, I've just been stopped with 40 kilos of cannabis, what am I likely to face? We don't know if they're going to face 2 years in prison, 4 months in prison, or a little fine, or even get off, have the cases taken off them, and then 3 or 4 days later turn up and are arrested in Cambodia with another 40 kilos. So that just gives you a favour of what we're up against. So obviously this does take a lot of our time, not necessarily the arrest, but the policy. So we work together as an embassy to try and see, right, how do we talk to the Thai authorities on this? My colleagues all around the world, whether it's Turkey, whether it's in Laos, whether it's in Sri Lanka, people are being stopped in these countries with cannabis from Thailand. In one of our neighbouring countries, they didn't have anyone in prison. They've now got 12 people, and that's purely from cannabis. So again, their workloads have gone, when dealing with prisons, to nothing to 12. And it can take up a lot of time. How are we doing for time? Plenty of time, right, good. So, what did I come into this morning? I came into there's a possible crisis happening elsewhere in the world. Staff may be out. That is in Jamaica. And that's how we often have to work, where we need to support our colleagues. So, you know, are there any staff that maybe could be on standby to help out? Not obviously fly there, but to help out remotely. What do we do in a crisis? Sorry, photos. What do we do in a crisis? How do we reach out to you? Many of you will know years ago you would probably go into the embassy and you'd write out like a white card, and it would go into a big box. And this box would grow and grow and grow, because guess what? People didn't tell us when they left. So it would be very difficult. We then moved to a system called Locate, where you would register online that you were then in a country. But again, people didn't tell us when they left. So now we've moved to a system where we would, if there was a crisis in the country, we would ask you to register your presence. So that would be made available to you all, and we would alert you through our travel advice. So again, please look at the leaflet, sign up to our travel advice, because that is how we would tell you if we needed to get information out to you. We had the earthquake in March. It quickly became evident in Bangkok that there weren't any British casualties. We were checking with our colleagues who received the calls to see if they'd had a significant increase. Yeah, they might have had a call, say, from a mum saying, "Oh, I think my child's in Thailand. Have you heard from them?" Little calls, nothing major. And so we knew very quickly that actually it wasn't probably as bad as we thought when it was happening and we were standing and seeing all the buildings moving. If, though, we'd got messages to say, right, the airport will be closed for the next 12 hours, That's the type of thing we would put into our travel advice. And if you've signed up, you would then get a ping, you would get an alert to say we've updated the travel advice, please do see, and that's how we would reach out to you. Obviously, we've had quite a few crises over the last few years, mainly in the Middle East, and how we deal with them. And of course, as I say, now we've got the hurricane in Jamaica. So, how can we do all this work? How can we help these British nationals? We cannot do it without the help of the Thai authorities. And I cannot express how much we are so grateful for the help that we get from them. Whether it be the tourist police, whether it be Thai social services, whether it will be officials at the Department of Corrections, whether it be the Royal Thai Police, whether it's our charity donor, all these people help us to get our job done. So what we do every so often, if we are in certain places, is we will do a little thank you for them. And for the cost of a gin and tonic, a soda, a Coke, and a cucumber sandwich, I think that does go a long way. But of course some people don't see it like that. They see, oh, there she is again. There's the consular team again, out and about, having a drink. What are they doing for us? And they just do not realize that is our way of showing our thanks. It's something very, very small. It really is. But we rely on the Thai authorities so much for so much help. We really do. And especially people like the tourist police. It's very few other countries in the world have the tourist police. And it's just great that they will help whenever we call. They'll help us at the airport. They'll help with translations. They are there. They are always there to help us. So we cannot thank them enough. So yes, if you see pictures in future, just remember that's what it is. It's us saying thank you. So we've touched on the elderly. This is something which I'm planning to take forward, and I am arranging to have hosting a workshop in the embassy at the beginning of December. And part of that will be to get various people involved, whether they're care home people, whether they're funeral directors, whether they provide health insurance, get them all in the room to see if we can then produce some sort of booklet to then people can have, but also with signposting them to various companies that may be able to help them. I have made it very clear in my commissioning email on this event, I don't want companies coming if they cannot offer policies at a reasonable cost, because the type of people that would be reading that guide will be people who maybe are just relying on a very, very little income here. I should also mention that we do work closely with the Royal British Legion. And again, especially in somewhere like Pattaya, I am aware that there's quite a few of you that are ex-service people. So we do our best. And again, we're grateful for the help that they give us. So I think I'm going to stop there, if that's okay.
You can see why I was delighted when she put her hand up and said, yeah, I'm going to come and give another talk. I want to, because she's such a delightful person and a delightful presenter. And I hope the Australian consul is as good as you. Maybe we'll get her down sometime. And, you think, who's not British here? Come on, put up all the non-British hands. But you learn something about how the consuls think, right? And how the consulate, and that's always very, very useful to know. And just a small token of our appreciation for your big trek down here, little